trout right now. Ben, I know you've been out there a number of times recently. What's been your experience so far? You caught some trout this past weekend out there, even with the kind of windy conditions. Hmm. No, no, you won't. Um, I know. I think Danny Capagno was out there this weekend. I think he posted on Facebook. He was actually at a Basons, I believe, and did really well. He said he caught a couple of 2 pound trout on, I think, on Sunday when the wind was real bad. So that's definitely encouraging. I know Breck Hotard's been fishing both areas a lot. He's been doing real well. Um, I haven't heard anybody going out into those areas skunking. There's definitely trout to be caught. Some days are better than others, and it's only going to get better. I mean, we're first week of March right now. I think the weather's going to start getting a little bit more consistent, and those brown shrimp will start coming in. So if you're looking to read a little bit more about Golden Meadow in that area this time of year, if you check out Marsh and Bayou magazine, the March issue coming out probably in the next few days, we've got a good article in there, fishing from a kayak for you new guys that are maybe wanting to fish the tournament, not sure where to start. We've got some areas listed over there, and some tips on what to fish with, how to fish for them. I interviewed Brendan Bayard, great trout fisherman. Brendan's got some good tips in there for you guys if y'all are looking to get on the Trout for Trout Challenge. But right now, I want to go over to John Williams with Pack and Paddle. John, thanks for coming on. It's been a little while since we had you on. I think we were on last year.
My pleasure. Thanks for inviting me. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. How you doing tonight?
Doing good. Just went out to dinner, got back home just in time for the podcast, so we're all set.
Absolutely. Well, we've got a lot of new members and a lot of new viewers that are tuning in tonight. Tell us a little bit about Pack and Paddle. I know we talked about it a little bit last year, but to kind of refresh everybody's memory and for some of those new guys coming in, tell us about Pack and Paddle, services y'all offer, and the things y'all do.
Sure. We're a pretty unique business. We are a specialty outdoor shop. We carry things like backpacking gear, hiking gear, but about half our shop is paddle sports and fishing. And we're a dealer for Native, for Hobie, Bonafide, Jackson, all the big brands. And we put a lot of emphasis on kind of working with people, figuring out what they need, and then getting them on the water, letting them test out the boats, and getting people set up right first time. I would say another thing about Pack and Paddle is that we don't just do the kayaks, but we also sell quite a bit of fishing gear. We have a really good fly shop, very complete fly shop, including rods, reels, fly tying equipment, fly tying supplies. We carry Waterloo, St. Croix, and just quite a bit of lures and different types of fishing equipment, as well as all the kayaks, kayak fishing accessories, rigging stuff, marine mat, power pole, fish finders, just very, very complete on the paddle sports and in the kayak fishing side. So I don't know. Is that enough for you?
Yeah, I mean that's a lot of great information. And I mean, I stop and Pack and Paddle all the time when I'm in Lafayette, even though I live in Metairie, and I always enjoy it. Now the great thing about the baits, that those are hand selected baits. I mean, y'all aren't just buying in mass from all these different things. Y'all are determining which baits y'all want to sell there based on what y'all feel are going to be good baits for in Louisiana. tried
Oh
and
yeah,
true things.
for sure. And I mean, a lot of our staff does a lot of fishing, including myself. And then we've got guys like Wayne who fish on our team that give us a lot of clues on what we should be carrying. And so we try to pick things, if we can, things that are made here in Louisiana or Texas, somewhere on the Gulf Coast that we know work here and that we've tried and work well. So yeah.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit. I know that y'all do some events where if you buy a kayak, don't y'all have them team up with like a pro-am where y'all take them out when they first get on the kayak to kind of show them around a little bit?
Right. Well, okay. So we have run an event called the Pro-Am, or I should say the Lafayette Kayak Fishing Club has run an event called the Pro-Am, which is an event where new anglers and experienced anglers sort of come together, and when they get to the launch, they pair up and go out so that the new guys can learn a few things from the older guys. What you might be getting confused with also is that one of the unique things that we do through the shop is that we do guided trips.
That may
So
be
we'll
it.
take
Yeah.
people out and for their first kayak fishing experience, or we also of course do just paddle trips that don't involve fishing. But we do take people on their first kayak fishing trip, give them a little experience, show them what to do, and sort of give them their start.
Okay. Now, in addition to selling the kayaks, do y'all also do the rigging of the kayaks if someone wants to add an anchor trolley or a power pole, things of that nature?
Sure. Yeah. All the rigging that you could possibly want to do, we do it, including just what you said, power poles. We also do fish finders. We do marine mats, and any kind of rigging that you would want to do on a kayak, we can do it for you.
Okay. I think last time I was there, y'all also sell kayak trailers. Is that right? Or y'all still selling them?
Sure. Yeah, we do. We have trailers from Triton that are all aluminum trailers and really nice. And then we also have added in some trailers from Magic Tilt.
Yeah, those are awesome. So I know you guys have been a longtime supporter of the kayak clubs here, donating items to both the Lafayette Kayak Club, which is this local club, as well as Bayou Coast. And this year, y'all have actually teamed up with Native to sponsor our championship series tournament. And this year, we're excited. I think we've announced this before, but we are, in addition to the cash prize that the first place champion will get, they also will win a brand new Native Slayer that you, along with Native, has been kind enough to donate to the club. And that's just an awesome kayak. I know guys that use them. I know Tyler's actually got one, and he loves it. I know when I was picking up my kayaks, I really had narrowed them down to the Hobie and the Native.
Right.
And probably the only reason I went with the Hobie is because I knew a couple of guys that had Hobies.
Right.
But
well,
I don't think
that boat is a very, very nice boat. I had a Native. My first pedal boat was a Native Slayer, the old Native Slayer 13. I paddled that one for I think 4 or 5 years, and I have a lot of experience with that boat. The new one is similar, but of course much nicer. They've refined the hull quite a bit, and much better storage, and the drive, of course, is much better than it was in the old days. But that's an awesome boat.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, I have a whole new appreciation for the Natives after fishing some of these bass tournaments, like in Seminole and Fort, where there's all these underwater stumps. And I know for a fact when I was in Seminole that if you were in one of the older Hobies without the breakaway fins, we had a couple of guys with some really bad bent masts. I know when we were in Fork this past week or two, Jonathan, who I was with, bent his mast pretty good. Tyler was out there at his Native, and he it was funny. He'd hit some stumps, but he was okay. The kayak come up and ride on its side, but the drive and everything was okay. So you got the pros and cons, because when you're in a really thick grass, sometimes the Hobie's a little bit better than the Native drive. So I think it really depends on what type of fishing you plan on doing and which drive is going to be better for you in that particular environment, because they both have their strengths and weaknesses.
Absolutely. The one of the things that's nice about that Native drive is the reverse is instant, so you don't have to pull the little lever to turn it in reverse. Just pedal forward to go forward, pedal backward to go backward, which is really awesome. And a lot of bass fishing is deep water. I think Hobie might have a little edge in shallow water because you can get those fins up against the hull, and whereas the Native is sort of either fully engaged or all the way in the boat. So I think Hobie has a little edge there, but the instant reverse is really nice on the natives, and especially for bass fishing, that seems to be a big advantage.
Yeah, and that's the great thing. It's funny. A lot of people are going online and they're buying things online. I always try to go to the retailers. I enjoy talking with the people and getting their opinion. When you go to a place like Pack and Paddle, you have these people like you and the other guys you got working there that know the pros and cons of the kayaks. And, I'm sure we'll ask the customers. So what type of fishing do you plan on doing? Is this for fishing or is it for fun? Or
Sure.
what type of environment are you plan on being in? Because again, the Hobie may be great for one environment, but maybe for another environment, you may want to go with the native. And those are the type of things that you guys can offer to them before you make a big investment, because you're talking
Yeah,
about spending $3,000 or so on a kayak, and you want to make
absolutely.
sure it's good for what you're doing.
And I'll tell you another thing that I've found, because I've been out with, or they'll prefer the punch motion of a Hobie. And unless you get in the boat, you're not going to know what your own personal preference is. So that's why I think, demoing the boat, it's like a picture paints 1,000 words. A demo will answer 1,000 questions. You immediately
Absolutely.
get in the boat, and you will learn so much about that boat just literally by trying it out.
Absolutely. Ben, I think we've got actually a little clip of that native slayer that we're going to be giving out to the winner of the championship this year. Do we have that? Can you go ahead and run it for us? Let everybody check it out. Oh, there it is. Yeah. Oh, wait. All right, man. That gets me kind of juiced up. I'm ready to go get me a native too. I wouldn't mind flip flopping back and forth between the two, but I don't know if my Hobie guys will give me trouble, and then my native guys. That's why I'm not sponsored by anybody. It's strictly for the fact that I don't want to be limited to one kayak or another. So you hear that, Hobie and native? I don't want to be sponsored by you guys because I love y'all both. So, well, John, you've actually got a big event coming up this weekend. I think it's Friday night, right?
Right, we do. We have an event called Beer and Gear.
Yes. Tell us about. I know I have friends that go to it every year, and they have an absolute blast. So,
It is
tell
fun.
us about it.
Sure, sure. I think this is. I was trying to think how many years we've done this, but what do you think, Wayne? Would you say I'm guessing about 7 or 8 years, probably.
I was going to say, okay, that makes sense. 2012, 2000.
Yeah,
That's on
I
and on.
think that's what I would think. But anyway, what we came up with this event quite a while back, and the idea of the event was we wanted to put on sort of a trade show, which we actually did for a while, but it was sort of boring and slow, and then I thought what we ought to do is we ought to put it on a Friday night, and we ought to we ought to get all the reps to come in, bring all the new gear, and what we'll do is we'll make them bring beer from wherever they're from. So if they're from Texas, they need to bring some kind of local Texas beer. If they're from North Carolina, they need to bring some kind of North Carolina beer. And so we made the reps responsible to bring the beer with them. And then when people come in, they can go out, they can talk to the reps, they can check out all the new gear, they can talk about the new kayaks and new gear and everything, and then they can get a beer if they're interested. They can try out a different beer from different part of the country. And we threw in giving away a boat with it, and the event just took off. So this thing has gotten a lot of legs. It's gotten really popular and fun, and it's not super long. We start around 5:30. The whole thing's over by 8. So it's not like a huge long commitment, and it's just fun. And what it's become is sort of kind of a kickoff for the spring kayaking and kayak fishing series, and it ends up being just fun and a time to see people talk to different people, and check out gear and drink beer and have fun.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at the pics that Ben's putting up now. You get a pretty good crowd out there too.
Oh, something's happened.
Oh, I was going to answer for John because I've been to the event multiple times. Can you hear me?
Yeah,
I hear you.
Oh, okay. And it's a great event, man. So many people show up, like people who are, I mean, it's not just kayak, like outdoor enthusiasts, and it's a good crowd circling through. Very fun, and everybody stays to the end. I mean, it's got a raffle too, right? Like beyond just.
It's a great opportunity to meet, other anglers and vendors and stuff from out of state. I know I was invited to speak on a podcast last week with Dustin Nichols out of Texas, and he is on the Jackson team. And Dustin was telling me he was actually he was skipping a tournament to come in for beer and gear next weekend. So I know he was pretty pumped about that.
That's cool. Yeah. No, it's fun. It's a lot of fun, and we do get people that come from all over for it, and it's definitely got an energy of its own.
Now, is that when they have the gear there, is that stuff that you can buy right there on the spot, or is it basically just to showcase the new things coming out?
Well, at this point in the season, most of the stuff that they show is now available in the store.
Okay.
So yeah, you could buy it right then. And we, in the past, this year, we have an overlap with the Houston Fishing Show. So sometimes we'll have some tackle vendors that'll sell tackle in their booths. This year it'll be like Bugs Lures. The guy from Heath Hipple comes from Houston usually, but this year he can't come because of Houston Fishing Show. But in general, all the stuff that you see is generally available. There could be some new things in there that are not in stores yet.
Okay. Now I know that y'all are having a raffle there, right? I mean, y'all give away a boat at this thing.
Yeah, we do. We have this year we worked with Blake at New Canoe, and we came up with giving away a New Canoe Flint, complete with their new electric drive motor built in.
So is that a kayak that you can also pedal, or is it just electric?
No, it's just electric.
Okay. All right. Well, that sounds like pretty awesome. I mean, if you get out there and you want to hit some of those faraway spots,
absolutely,
you kind of plug that in and do a little scouting out there in a kayak. I'm sure once you get to where you're located, you can break out the paddle and start paddling around.
Correct. Yeah. And it's a good stand-up sight fishing kayak, so you can go red fishing in it, bass fishing, and whatever you want to do.
So is that is everyone who comes to the beer and gear, are they eligible for that, or they have to buy tickets, or how's that work?
No, everyone that comes is eligible to win the boat. Everyone gets a free
Okay.
ticket,
And
and the event is free. So, it's kind of a no lose situation. You come in, it's free. You can drink some beers and have fun, and possibly win a kayak.
so I can go to your place this Friday. I can go get free beer. I can talk to people about fishing, check out kayak stuff, and if I hang out long enough, I can walk away with a brand new kayak, motorized kayak.
It's all possible.
That's
all
pretty legit.
That's awesome. I can't imagine people not wanting to go to that. It's this Friday. What's the time? The time frame that this thing runs from.
Yeah, we kick it off at 5:30. By 6 or 6:30, it's full blown. It's going.
Yeah.
And then we give away the boat around 7:30.
Wow.
And then by 8, it's a ghost town. So it goes very quick. Once this thing starts, there's no stopping it, and then until it's over.
Once the beer and the kayak are gone, it's done. Everybody's like, okay, time to go.
Exactly.
Well, I know that we're going to have Bayou Coast is going to have a booth there, and I know Tyler's going to be down there. Eric Stacy's going to be there. I think Josh Thompson, our club president, is going to be down there. They're all really excited to get down there. I think they actually got a hotel room. They plan on staying the night in Lafayette so they can have a good time and hopefully come back with a new canoe motorized. I know Eric likes to run his trolling motor on his kayak when he's not fishing tournaments, so that would be right up your alley. You'd be a new canoe guy, Eric.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah. Well, look, I mean, aside from beer and gear, you've got some other great things coming up. I think this Saturday you have a demo day. Is that right?
Yes, and we're kind of taking the demo up a notch a little bit. So depending on what you like to do, we wanted to add some new things into it. So this year, not only do we have the demo as you would expect, and I think we'll probably have at least, 25 different boats and subs and different kinds of boats to try out, but also we've got our fly fishing reps coming out, and they're going to have fly rod demos, including our TFO rep, Tom Gendra, who will be here. And every person that demos a TFO fly rod will be eligible to win a fly rod of their choice. So if you get your name pulled out of the fly rod hat on Saturday, you can pick any TFO rod that you want.
Wow.
And have that for free, which will be cool. And then here's a good new one. We're going to have demos of a thing called the one wheel.
I had to Google that when you mentioned it to me, because I was like, is this something? I thought it was maybe some new cart for kayaks or something. I had no idea what it was.
Yeah, it's sort of like a hoverboard, I guess, but it's a lot cooler than a hoverboard. Thing will go, I think on one charge, it'll go like maybe close to 20 miles.
Wow.
And yeah, and you can go like 20 miles an hour on this thing. They're really fast, and they've got a amazing battery life, and they're just cool. And it's a new thing. It's starting off real slow, but we're starting to get a little traction on it, and we wanted to include that in the demo, so we're doing it this weekend.
Yeah, and so you sent me a picture of this thing. It kind of looks like almost like a board, like a skateboard, but a little bit flatter, with a big wheel right in the center of it.
Yes.
And you put your feet kind of on each side, and I guess you tilt one way to go one way and left for the other way?
Correct. Yeah.
Now, have you been on the one wheel yet, John?
Yes, I have.
And you're able to balance okay?
And I'm all still in one piece. So I'm not picking up the one wheel as my activity of choice, but I have ridden it, and I've survived it.
Because I tell you, I got on
the younger guys.
I got on my daughter's hoverboard, and I like to kill myself.
No.
So I was curious if this was something that I could do, or if it's like, look, it's for people that are really short, or little kids that have a lower center of gravity, because those things look really cool, but I just didn't know if that was something I'd be able to do. So you're going to be able to on Saturday, and where is that going to take place on Saturday, this demo day?
Okay, it's at Vermilionville Pond, and if you're going to Google your way there, if you enter the address 300 Fisher Road, Lafayette, it'll take you straight into Vermilionville, right to the spot that we're demoing. So yeah, it's about 5 minutes from our shop.
Okay, and what time are you guys going to be out there on Saturday?
The demo starts at 10 and ends at 2.
Okay, and y'all are gonna have the whole fleet of kayaks out there.
Yeah, everything, every Hobie model that we carry, every new canoe, Bonafide, Jackson, everything that we carry, we'll have out there.
Y'all gonna have the 360?
Yes.
That's gonna be awesome. So
Wow.
I mean, I don't know if you guys are still gonna be out there Saturday morning. Y'all might want to go. I'll take a look at the 360 and tool around a little bit.
Depends how Friday night goes.
Yeah, I can't believe you're going to be. Some of these guys are going to be in shape to be out there Friday and then again Saturday, especially whoever wins that new canoe. Was it Francis that won a kayak out there that year? Was it Francis?
I can't remember that guy. I know he's a Bayou Coast member, and I can't remember his name right off the bat. And he's an active member with you guys.
Yeah, I think it may have been Francis. I'm not sure. I know Francis won kayak. He's really lucky in those things, those drawings and catching one bull red to win IFA. I don't know. It's just he's very good at that. Now you've got something else coming up. I mean, y'all got so many great things coming up that are just great for kayak fishermen and just for sportsmen and outdoors people in general. But Kayak Fishing you've got coming up, and I think you told me that. Well, tell me about it. I think I know the people that are in it, but I'd like to know more about this.
This is an event. We've sort of renamed it this year and kind of redid it. We've had Steve Lassard and Brendan Bayard for probably 8 years have been coming every year to do a seminar at the shop and share some of their knowledge and supposedly some of their secrets. Now, this year we wanted to change it up. It's always been called Secrets of a Tournament Kayak Fisherman, which was sort of a very long name, but this year we changed the name to Kayak Fishing U, and they're going to do it a little different. They're still going to have some of the how-to information that they've always had, some of the more important stuff, but also I wanted them to talk a little bit about fishing down the Highway 1 corridor, talk about some of the spots, and sort of give us West Siders some more information on how to fish on the east side.
Yeah.
So they're gonna hit a few spots, show a few Google Maps, give some tips about time of year and best ways to fish different places. That's gonna be I can't remember. What do you know the date? Is it March 16th maybe? You might have to look it up on the pack. I could probably look it up without messing either up here actually.
What day of the week is it on, John?
I think it's on a Tuesday. Hang on, I'm going to get it for you right here.
Be March 17th if it's on a Tuesday.
Yeah, it's the 17th.
Okay. So, I mean, that's awesome. That is 4 days before Trout Challenge. You think maybe you get them to talk a little bit about fishing Golden Meadow?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they're going to reveal the exact areas that you can win the tournament in.
Yeah, I mean, they probably can. And the funny thing is, you'll go out there and fish in the same spot, and Brendan's still gonna outfish you. He'll have just a little something different on his line that's gonna give him the edge, or he twitches that top water just right. I still can't figure out how he does it. He tells me, look, in the wintertime, you gotta work that top water slow, and if you're working it slow, you're probably going too fast, and I don't know how he does it, but he does it, and obviously Steve is Steve, and he's going to catch fish regardless. So that sounds great. I mean, there's a lot of big things going on down Highway 1 this year. Obviously, I'm sure you've heard about the Hobie World Qualifier.
Absolutely.
That we're hosting that.
That's great.
I don't know if you're still fishing, if you're going to come down there and maybe
throw
the hat in the ring.
We don't want John in there. He'll win it.
No, we gotta have everybody down there.
Everybody.
It's gonna be a lot of fun. We're gonna have people from all over the United States. Eric's the tournament director for that particular tournament, and I know he's been pumped about it ever since we found out we'd get to host one. And we got to get Paddlepalooza out the way first, and I don't want to overlook Paddlepalooza because that's a great tournament coming up in April. We'll talk about that a little bit later, but I sure am looking forward to doing that down Highway 1 this year. It's generally been down Highway 23, so fishing down Highway 1 in October is going to be a new ball game for a lot of us. So I don't think many of us are going to have a big advantage because most of us are concentrating on Highway 23 at that point. So the Kayak Fishing U, that's is that something free, or do you have to pay to get into that?
Oh no, it's a free event. I've actually got St. Croix and Sims, two companies that we deal with. They're going to help us out. Actually, shoot, I can't remember the name. They're giving away a very nice St. Croix rod. I wish I could remember the name. I'd have to look it up in the email. But somebody's going to win a St. Croix rod that night. And I think he's got one of those super cool waterproof Sims bags that we're going to give away that night as well.
Yeah.
So, they're donating a couple of prizes. And no, that's a free event. We have our boat room converts into a venue that holds about 60 people.
Really?
And has a huge screen, good sound system. It's a very, very nice venue for guest speakers, movies, or whatever. So it'll be held in that room, and it's just a good opportunity to come and learn a few things.
And that's going to be March 17th. And what time is that going to be for?
We're doing a happy hour before, so 5:30 for the happy hour till around 6:15. At which time we will start seminar around 6:15. So if you're doing happy hour, come at 5:30. If you're not interested in that and you just want to come to seminar, just show up at 6:15.
Man, that sounds great. Now, are y'all going to live stream that at all?
Maybe if we can get Doug to come and do it for us.
Yeah, Wayne, you got to talk to your brother about that.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Because I'd love to be able to sit down and hear all Steve's and Brendan's secrets about fishing right before Trout Challenge.
I've seen it, I think, every year, and I'm being completely honest. It's always good. It's always good, and there's always something small that I've missed or I kind of haven't focused on. So, I mean, those are both masters, and they really do share a lot of information.
They do.
So it's super accessible, and there's always a ton of people there. So, again, another place to meet other like-minded folk.
No, that's going to be a great event. I hope I can make it. If not, if y'all are live streaming, I definitely want to catch it online. That's a great thing now about what we're able to do. I know we're actually doing our officer meetings now. It used to be so hard to get everybody together because we had people in New Orleans and Baton Rouge and the North Shore. Now we just come on and do a little Zoom meeting and we can meet, whenever we want to. And it's very convenient. And to be able to see something like that and hear those guys talk is going to be great. So, John, you got anything else to talk about? I know we've covered a good bit. Man, you guys got so much stuff coming up. I know you and Wayne had wanted to talk about Lake Martin.
Yes.
A little bit. Why don't you tell us what's going on with that?
You want me to talk about it?
Please. I'm curious of any new developments. What's going on with Lake Martin?
Okay. Well, if you haven't heard, they have closed the boat ramp at Lake Martin. Now, if you're a kayaker, which I'm sure most of everybody listening here is a kayaker, you can still launch. Not at the boat launch. What you need to do is keep driving past the boat launch a ways until you get to the very end of the road. And the end of the road is where the Nature Conservancy property starts. And when you get to the end of the road, there's going to be a pipe gate. And what you're going to want to do is just stop and park, unload your boat, carry it under the pipe gate, and you'll be launching into the lake on the left there. And it's a launch that actually the club was it the paddle club or it was either the paddle club or the kayak fishing club.
Maybe both of them, yeah.
Yeah, they might have teamed up to build this launch. Maybe it's been a while, maybe 5-6 years ago, and so you can still launch. The problem's going to be once summer kicks in and the grass grows, it can be kind of tough to get out into the lake from that spot. So it is still a bummer. So what's going on is this. Back in the 60s, the state/parish made an agreement with the landowners to build a boat launch on the landowners' private property. They had 2 consecutive 25-year leases on it, which expired a number of years ago. And in, I don't know what you want to call it, true Louisiana political style, they sort of fumbled the ball, never renegotiated the lease with the landowners, never upkept the launch, just sort of left this whole thing in limbo. And the landowners have become frustrated with the situation, frustrated with people leaving trash and messing up the parking lot, and the state's not upkeeping the boat launch. And so finally the landowners I guess, got frustrated and closed the launch and said, you know what, we're closing it until we work out either a long-term lease or something else. So at this point, there's no way to launch a power boat into Lake Martin. You, like I told you, you can still launch a kayak at the Nature Conservancy launch at the end of the road. But that's basically the situation right now. The parish says that they are close to working out a deal. Some of the stuff I've read from the landowners doesn't really sound like we're real close to working out a deal. But you know, with these things, you know, you never know really what's going on the inside. So what I hear is that it maybe the parish will create a deal and it'll go back to being a free boat launch like it was before. But I've also heard people saying that what might end up happening is that the landowners will not reach a deal with the parish and that they will reopen the boat launch under private ownership and charge the launch. Yeah. So, you know, one of those two things will happen. I don't know which, and that's kind of all the scoop that I have on it.
And I was going to add, and I hope you can chime in on this, John. Lake Martin, for anybody who hasn't been there, is Louisiana to the core. I mean, when you see pictures of Louisiana from anywhere else in the world, it looks like Lake Martin. It's pristine. It's beautiful. It has the cypress trees with the moss, alligators everywhere. I think it's an alligator sanctuary. Yeah. They never really mess with you. But they're everywhere. It's a bird sanctuary. Is it a bird sanctuary also?
It's an unbelievable bird rookery, and it's just the birds are coming in now, and the rookery's unbelievable. The amount of snowy egrets, roseate spoonbills, all the wading birds are nesting up in the buttonbush and trees up on the east end of the lake. Hope I'm saying that right. Yeah. East end of the lake, yeah. And no, and you know, a lot of the photography that you see of those types of birds, a lot of those are taken at Lake Martin because the photography and the bird life there is just unbelievable.
So, and I just got just passed a message from Todd Lewis, you know, obviously one of the longtime officers with the club, you know, asking, is it a situation where, you know, we need to raise money to fix up some of the launches, or is this something that the state has to work out with the parish? Or certainly I know, you know, you're staying involved in it. So if something comes up where that's a situation that there's an area where we can make a launch or improve a launch and we need to raise some money, you know, certainly reach out to us and let us know, because that's really one of the focuses. And one of the things that we do is, you know, we raise money with our tournaments, but we like to reinvest it back into, you know, kayak fishing, you know. So anytime we have an opportunity to build a launch or to help fund a launch or something like that, you know, we're very interested in those things.
Well, maybe Friday night, if somebody from Bayou Coast could connect with someone from the Lafayette Club. They had talked to me about at Beer and Gear, asked if it would be okay to raise money to work on the Nature Conservancy launch, and so maybe the two clubs can team up and do something out there.
Absolutely. That sounds like a great idea. So, you know, we'll have maybe Eric or Josh or somebody like that reach out to somebody with the Lafayette Club and see what we can do. I've heard a lot about Lake Martin. I've never been on it.
Me either. I haven't been either.
I don't know if the fishing's any good over there. It's just, but I know it's beautiful. Everybody
I've talked to. Some people.
It can be amazing. It can be really amazing. I don't want to say I caught my personal best there, but I've seen some pretty nice fish there. If you like fishing around cypress trees and grass, I mean, it has so much. I think it's a quick getaway to, like, you can be on the water, and if you want to fish the entire lake in 8 hours, like if you really are like gung ho, you can fish the entire lake, see every square inch of the lake. Probably in 8 hours. I mean, if you're cooking, but yeah, it's good fishing. I mean, really and truly, it's just seeing it. I've met so many people on the water there. Like, I think Pack and Paddle does, or used to do, maybe the midnight paddle with the full moon.
Yeah, we do.
Whoa.
Yeah, we do it. Well, we aren't that motivated to do it at midnight, but we do the full moon paddle.
Full moon paddle.
Look, nothing good in my experience has ever happened at midnight, especially if you're fishing a trout tournament for 8 miles. So, you know,
I was fishing
to avoid more midnight madness, sadness. Yeah. Well, John, man, it's been great talking with you tonight. I'm going to switch over to Wayne if you don't mind. You're more than welcome to stay on and contribute and chat with us a little bit. But I enjoy hearing all these stories and learning every time I come on. I hear more and more some great things about pack and paddle. I like going over there and just talking with the guys. Even if I don't buy anything, I like just stopping by and, I guess it's like a woman at a shoe shop. She's going to walk around and browse. I like to walk around and browse and look at things. I like to have one of those one of these days. I wouldn't mind having one of those, It's just a great place to kind of browse around and enjoy yourself with that. I know the clothing. I got one of those. I've got 2 of those shirts I bought over there. I forget the name of them, but man, they are the softest, most comfortable shirts I own.
I went my first time 2 weeks ago. I was at Chico State Park, and I went down to Lafayette for a day trip, and I went into Pack and Paddle, and I was blown away. I've never been, and it was awesome. They had a whole section just for fly fishing, and they had Yakima stuff for my father-in-law's racks, and I've never seen a store in the state of Louisiana sell anything Yakima. So it was incredible. I even got the little hook, on your Hobie that pulls your drive back. My hook came off 6 months ago, and they had them in stock, which is just insanity. So, it was really good. If anybody's in Lafayette, it's definitely worth stopping by just to check it out.
Yeah, one last thing before I will sign off and listen to the rest online. But I wanted to mention, just to throw it out there, we're looking to hire someone that's interested in kayak, someone to work in the kayak fishing area, maybe do some boat loading and some talking to people about kayaks and kayak fishing stuff. So if anybody's out there and interested in looking for a job, give me an email or a shout or talk to Scott or one of the other people at the shop. And we're starting to look for someone for
That's going to be a great place to work, and what an environment. You get to talk kayaks and fishing all day, Ben, it's a shame you don't live a little bit closer. It'd be a little bit of a commute for you, but that'd be a fun job.
Cool. Well, I appreciate the opportunity, guys, and I look forward to seeing whoever makes the trip west for the event Friday night.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for coming on and sharing your stories with us tonight, John.
You're welcome. Thank you, and I enjoyed it.
Absolutely.
Good to see you.
All right. Wayne, so for guys that don't know, he's been talking. Wayne Lobb is here with us. He usually you don't see Wayne without his brother Doug, and I'll admit this, and it's kind of embarrassing, but for years I always knew as Wayne and Doug, and I never knew which one was which. I knew y'all don't look anything alike, but I knew it was Wayne and Doug, and I was like, which one's Wayne, which one's Doug? Because every time I saw y'all, it was Wayne and Doug.
Right.
So I finally figured it out after 2 years.
A lot of times I'll try to help. I mean, we don't look that much alike anymore. In the past, we kind of, apparently our voices are alike, but I try to help people out and say, is Wayne.
That's Wayne. I'm Wayne.
Or people will talk to me and reference something that I know is Doug, and I'll listen for a while and be like, I'm pretty sure that was Doug.
I will never get you two confused as far as looking at you and stories and stuff. But names I'm so bad with, and I guess I never just said, which one. I got to just put a name to a face, and that's Wayne, and that's Doug, and now I know, so I feel a lot better about it now. Nice. So you've been kayak fishing. You and your brother, y'all been kayak fishing for years now. How did you get into it?
I think 2008 was when I got into it. So Doug was the one that read an article in one of the local magazines, like, hey, this thing, kayak fishing is kind of coming up. And I read through it and I was like, oh, this sounds great. I was like, I just don't have to make the investment in a boat, be able to just kind of do day trips. And at that time I'd been in salt water for a little while. I grew up bass fishing. Doug and I both grew up bass fishing, and I've been doing saltwater fishing for about 5 years. Kind of went to one of the retailers, was looking at kayaks and saw a kayak that had a pedal in it. And I was like, man, like I pedal with my feet. I don't have to hold the paddle. I can just cast. It's like, oh yeah. I was like, oh okay, I want this one. I mean, it was a no-brainer. It made total sense to me. And then once I got into it, and I mean, I freshwater fished for quite a few years, and then Doug was like, hey, I think I want to get into it. So I kind of started in 2008, and then probably became a fanatic when I started kind of tournament fishing. And I started tournament fishing just to become a better fisherman. I mean, I think that's really, it like pushes you to challenge yourself, see what other anglers are doing. I mean, I don't want to say compare yourself, but it's pretty interesting. I mean, if you can approach it lightly enough and be willing to lose a lot.
Yeah, a lot. Not only money, but self-esteem. I learned that, especially in the last 2 weeks. I forgot what it's been like. It's been a little while since I've done so poorly, but you know, it's interesting because when we get to be, you know, people our age. I don't know how old you are. I'm in my 47 this year, and you know, most of our big competitive days of whatever are behind us. But this is something that, look, I mean, I could do this for another 10 years pretty easily. I mean, look at Mr. Tommy Eubanks, and he's still a heck of a fisherman out there. And, you know, once you learn these areas and the patterns and the baits and stuff, you can do well. I mean, you can compete with these younger guys and do well. And it's good to have a little bit of competition. I enjoy it. I enjoy still friendly fishing, but when you get to compete against, you know, even like you and your brother, good fishermen, you know, Steve or Brendan or something like that. And, you know, if you can come out and do better than them in a tournament, you feel, hey, I did pretty good today. You know, I'm not as good as them, but I did pretty good today. It feels good. No, I know I think both you guys draw Volvos, right?
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Team Volvo.
Team Volvo. Right. So, cause when I'm driving, I'm driving down to Lake Fork, Texas. I'm on these backcountry roads. I'm looking for this grocery store for our dinner. And I'm just driving along, and I look over and I see two Volvos lined up behind each other with kayaks. And I'm like,
no.
Well, that's just odd. And I said, that was Wayne and Doug. Just out of the middle of nowhere. As I'm texting the group, I just saw Wayne and Doug, and like, nothing to see here. You don't know where we're launching. So
that was not a good launch. It was a shot to the very end of it. Perfect little launch. Private, has a game. You know, that's the maddening part of freshwater fishing.
So you guys, I know y'all fish all the tournaments. Y'all fish the Lafayette Club tournaments. Y'all fish the Bayou Coast tournaments. Y'all fish the IFA tournaments, and now these bass tournaments are becoming huge. I think it kind of started when Hobie started their Hobie Bass Open Series last year. And then this year, I know it's like the attendance has been like double. I think they had double the amount of people at Lake Fork this year than they did last year. Wow. And then this year now you've got the Bass Masters, you know, hosting these tournaments with the championship. And these are all different venues all over the country. We're fortunate enough, we've got a couple of locations here, but you've actually been able to fish a couple of these tournaments now, haven't you?
Yeah, definitely. And not to correct you, but like, Hobie has been doing something called the Hobie Bass Open in Kentucky Lake since 2014, maybe 2015.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Tommy Eubanks was kind of what inspired me to go up there. I had talked to him, and he used to make it a kind of like a venture. He'd go up there with his wife, and he fished that event. I want to say he's done pretty well in the event. I don't know that he's won it, but he's done pretty well up there.
I can see that.
I've just never fished it. But yeah, so they've been doing it a while, and Doug and I started fishing those in 2016. So we'd drive up to Kentucky Lake, which is kind of up at the very north part of the Kentucky Lake Dam. It's usually a big event, anywhere from 150 to 200, and then I guess last year they started the BOS series.
Yeah.
Bass Open Series.
So that was just one tournament that they would do every year in the Kentucky Lake, and then they said, hey, let's try this thing with a series, and we'll do, I don't know if they're doing 6 or 7 tournaments a year now with the championship at the end.
I think it's 8 or 9.
Yeah, it's a lot.
It's quite a few tournaments, and then so man, I wish I had the calendar of all of them. I just don't. I don't have all the dates, but pretty much you can get to anywhere. I mean, there's one on the West Coast in the California Delta, which sounds pretty fun, and obviously some Alabama, some Arkansas, Texas, had the Lake Fork, which we can talk a little bit more about. That was a little bit depressing, but nonetheless a great event.
Yeah, I'm looking at it now. There's actually 9 tournaments that they're throwing. Then they've got the Tournament of Champions, which is at the end, and then the day before that, on that Friday, they have a shootout, which kind of gives you a last opportunity to qualify for their championship. But I mean, they're in this year. They were in Georgia, Texas, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, Kentucky, Wisconsin, California, Arkansas, Alabama, and Tennessee.
Yeah.
So really, though, living in the South, you're going to be able to hit a lot of those tournaments if you want. Obviously, California, Wisconsin are a little far away, but I mean, Lake Seminole, I think that was a 6-hour drive from New Orleans, 5.5, somewhere around there. Lake Fork, 7-hour drive, easily doable. The other one I'm looking to hopefully fish is going to be the Coosa River chain in Gadsden, Alabama. That's October 3rd and 4th. And if memory serves me, that's only about a 5.5 hour drive from the New Orleans area. I think it's south of Gunnersville. So that's going to be a good one. Well, tell me about your experience at these Bass Open tournaments. I mean, you kind of get back to your roots there a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. It's always fun. It's always a good challenge. I mean, as with any, so for anybody who doesn't know anything about it, they're all catch, photo, and release tournaments run this year through an application called TourneyX. Great events that kind of each angler has their own measuring board. You go out, fish for 2 days in these, and measure your fish. Compete against some of the best in the country, or in all honesty, the best in the country. So people come from all over. I don't know, what do we have at Lake Fork? Like 155, and maybe more than 14 states. A lot. I mean, I met people from Colorado, Wisconsin. So again,
California. I think there was a guy from California who'd come in.
California, yeah. I had the opportunity to fish the TOC last year. And after fishing it, I can definitely say I want to fish it again. So it's getting qualified for it is going to be, I think, a lot harder this year, but I think it's worth it.
Now, how did you qualify for the Tournament of Champions last year?
So Lake Fork, I placed 8th last year, and then I think it was the top 7. I was 8th or 9th. The top, whatever the top ones were, a couple of the guys had already qualified, and Hobie's great about rolling down spots. So it rolled down to me, so I got a fish out of Lake Ouachita, which, if you've never fished Lake Ouachita, is a tough lake.
Yeah. Every lake I've fished has been tough.
Okay.
I don't know how much tougher Lake Ouachita. That was in Arkansas?
That was in Arkansas, so right next to not Little Rock, Hot Springs. So
nice.
Hot Springs. I've been to an area over there called Lake Greason, which is about an hour from Hot Springs. We took some family vacations over the big dam. The water was just absolutely gorgeous. I mean, much different than the water you normally see in Louisiana, And the great thing about these tournaments, and I'm sure you've experienced the same thing, is in Louisiana, we're fishing, generally speaking, the same areas, maybe different times of the year, and it's going to be, Golden Meadow, Delacroix, Reggio, and they're all beautiful in their own way. But with these tournaments, you're getting to go to different states and different lakes. And it's really neat getting out there because everything's different than saltwater. You're fishing deep water sometimes.
Right.
You're fishing lily pads sometimes. You're fishing stumps. Yeah.
Shallow water. And I think for anybody who's saltwater, kind of dabbled in freshwater, it all translates. I mean, like some of the saltwater stuff in cleaner water really helped me out in Ouachita. Not necessarily on tournament day, but in a lot of my pre-fishing, getting up there. I was still a little bit intimidated of, 10, 12 foot of visibility. I mean, the water is
Yeah.
crystal clear. They have like freshwater jellyfish in the lake. The water is so clean. I mean, it's pristine. So, and deep water too. I mean, yeah, I found a bluff wall that had 100 foot of water on it. So
Wow.
some really deep water, really clean water. Nothing like I've ever fished before. And it was amazing to go challenge myself to, see if I could catch fish and on the bottom in 30 foot, 40 foot of water.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where you've been fishing saltwater long enough, on a day-to-day basis, you can compete with most of the guys out here. You know how to catch trout, you know how to catch redfish in these different times of the year, these different environments. But now going into these bass tournaments, you're challenging yourself in a whole different way. One, you're competing against literally some of the best in the nation, if not some of the best in the world, and you're doing them in areas you've never fished before, and maybe using techniques you've never used before. At least I know that's been my experience lately. Because every lake I've fished so far has been different as far as the style of fishing, from frogs to finesse to, jiggy heads and things like that.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the great things about bass fishing compared to salt fishing is I always think of it in technicality. Like fly fishermen, for whatever reason, seem like they're the most technical. I mean, they put a lot of energy to what color thread and I mean, there's a lot of technical and a lot of thought that goes behind it, and then kind of bass fishing and then saltwater fishing. But I mean, there's so many more techniques. I mean, in my experience, there's so many more techniques that you could experiment with, and maybe because it's a limited amount of fish. I mean, I know it's a lot of fish inside of a large lake like Lake Fork, but where we were fishing, kind of that area we were fishing in, I mean, we know there were fish there, but they had just seen all of the baits. They felt the pressure. That it was just kind of one of those circumstances that they had seen that already, or they could feel the pressure in the area. So if you could figure out how to get something new in front of them, I think that's really what sets a lot of these anglers apart.
And what's interesting is a lot of these tournaments out there, typically, at least in every one I've fished so far, there have been a boat tournament at the same time. And I know where we were fishing, because actually we fished the same area at Lake Fork. We're literally fishing with the boats in the same area.
Oh,
and we were in this big field of stumps and trees. And there's literally boats and kayaks just making their way through these trees, casting. And everybody's, real courteous and not throwing on top of each other. But we're literally casting distance to each other, fishing these same areas.
I think that was a little unusual. I'm a little worried about the Bassmaster coming up 2 weeks around the 14th with the MLF going on at the same time because it's a different level of angler, and if someone's kind of in a spot and they ask you to leave, you want to be courteous, but at the same time you're fishing an event. So yeah, there's a lot of and you don't want to be an ass on TV, I'm assuming.
No. But I mean, at the same time, these tournaments are not cheap.
Oh yeah, exactly. I mean, I honestly, we pay more than the MLF guys to fish the event when you look at entry fees, but
yeah,
that's kind of
the Hobie Bass Open Series. I think it's a $235 entry, and I think the new Bassmaster Series, I think those are $250. Now the prizes are great. First place at this Lake Fork was, I want to say it was like $8,000. I think for first place.
8,200. Yep.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it's an awesome payday when you can get the money. I think they paid out maybe 12 places or something like that.
Definitely. I mean, there's a lot of money in it, which is, I mean, you kind of, or there's starting to be a lot of money in it. I mean, 2 years ago, you had the KBF that had a $100,000 payout. The year I fished the KBF, I think it was a $30,000 or $40,000 payout. So, and then the TOC was a $20,000 payout for first place.
Yeah,
so there's starting to be quite a bit of money in it, and there's a lot of guys out there who are kind of, approaching it as this is how I want to make a living.
Yeah. Now, Wayne, tell us a little bit. your experience, the application that they use for these CPR tournaments is TourneyX, and that's going to be the same app that we're going to be using in the fall for the Hobie World Qualifier, which is going to be a CPR tournament. What has been your experience with TourneyX? I know my experience. I'd like to hear from someone else.
Okay. Yeah. So they're all good. So I think it was iAngler was what we were using before with the Hobie Bass Open. They switched to TourneyX, which is most people are familiar with. Anybody who fishes the KBFs, that was kind of a series that we didn't really cover. Huge amount of participation in the KBFs. So TourneyX, it's a great app. Essentially a real simple interface. It's just some tips on it is don't use the camera that's built into it. Always just use your camera in it, and then go in and browse through your images to find it. But my experience has been pretty good with all of the apps. The one concerning thing that creates makes you a little bit nervous is when I was fishing in Ouachita, there was no service where I was, none. And then also I did I'm trying to remember how far the paddle was. Both ways, it was about 14 miles. So they do late cutoffs. So if lines out is at 3 o'clock, you have till 4 o'clock to upload your fish. So if you're in an area that has no service, you can get in your car, get back, find a place that has service, hopefully get back, and then upload your image. So I think all of the tournaments are seeming like they take that into consideration. They take service and everything. But as long as your camera is working, then it's good.
I find it to be. I know some people going in CPR, they think it may be a little intimidating, but I found it to be extremely easy to use. I mean, basically, once you're logged in, you take a picture of your fish. You hit submit catch, and you just pick the picture that you want to submit, and that's it. And then they'll email you or text you, I think, within a few minutes saying, hey, your fish has been accepted. Or if there's an issue, take multiple pictures so you can submit another picture of a fish. But it's a great thing when you're out there fishing and you can see the live kind of results. It can be disheartening at times when you don't have anything and someone else has got 100 inches, but it's really neat to kind of follow it. And you can see the pictures of the fish when they catch them, which is really awesome.
Did you fish Seminole? You fished?
I did, yeah.
So that was an interesting event to watch because I fished more than I've watched. And I was watching that one, and I remember kind of waking up in the morning and kind of turning it on, and this guy already had 103. Was that the one? He already had 103 inches the first day.
We were paddling out. We hadn't even started fishing yet, and he had 101 inches.
I was watching that one too on my phone, and I was like, holy cow, he's killing everybody.
It's incredible.
For everybody not ready to throw their hat in the ring in the event yet, it's pretty fun to watch. I mean, I'm not going to say it's MLF, but I mean, it's fun to kind of watch. If you know some of the guys, just kind of watch along and see what people are doing. I mean,
I'm excited to see it this year play out for Fall and Tide when, you're sitting there and all of a sudden someone's posting up, a big 17-inch flounder or something like that. Wow, look at Wayne, you got a monster flounder, and then you're sitting there and you wait and he's like, and he's got his trout. He's like, but well, how come Wayne don't have his redfish? Where's his redfish? Why isn't he posted? When you see these guys that come in and like, man, I got my flounder, I got my trout, and I couldn't find my red. It's like, how can you catch a flounder without the red? But it happens. It happens.
Oh, yeah. Many times. And
many times.
That's why I think our event is gonna be so cool. Is flounder, trout, and red fishing are really three different. I mean, it's three different. You have to have three different techniques. I mean, you have to understand three different ways to fish, and you have to be able to switch. I mean, obviously, flounder fishing, you slow it down, and sometimes after you've been red fishing or trout fishing, it's hard to slow down.
It's tough.
And get to that, like wait for those flounder to bite, or even just, have the confidence to wait for them. So
I start first with the flounder.
Me too. Don't give that away. Don't tell anybody that.
I got to get out the way because it's tough when you're going back and forth, and I'm pretty pumped to see to see everybody going out there and seeing these fish kind of come in live. And then, you know, I don't know what time we're going to cut it off. It'll probably be, you know, around 11 o'clock or so. We'll cut off the live results. Just to kind of give some suspense for that night, you know, not knowing anything, because we're not going to have that weigh-in. No one's going to know except for whoever's running the weigh-in that night. So we're not going to know, you know, what's going on. Or, hey, last I saw, Wayne had a floundering trout. I wonder if he caught that red. I never saw it because they cut it off at 11 o'clock, you know, and people could be running all over.
It's really fun to upload your fish, but it's also fun to just leave them in the live well. So
to sandbag them, huh?
The app also has a live well. So typically when I'm fishing them, like I put my 5 smallest fish up. So like if I can get
his five smallest fish.
If I can get 5, but I mean that's usually when I start uploading.
Yeah.
Like, I fish till I have 5 fish, and then I upload.
Yeah.
If I have a kicker in there, I may just upload 4 from whatever, and then I'll upload a small one, and then I'll kind of hang on to the kicker. So tell us a little bit about your experience at Lake Fork in Texas. That was the weekend before Mardi Gras, and I know we obviously ran into each other, and a lot of us were fishing that same area over there in Lake Fork. Tell us, you know, I know you guys had actually gone down a couple weeks before, did a little pre-fishing over there. Yep. I stayed in the same place that you guys stayed in. Great. You found some great houses on Lake Fork.
Great VRBO. I know Ben's got some pictures of our stay there. We let's see, it was me and Tyler and Jonathan, Ian and Dean. No, Chuck stayed in a tent. I got a funny story about that. Chuck could have stayed with us, but he decided he was going to rough it out with Terry Pham and Francis Tran in the rain in a tent instead of staying in this beautiful 2-bedroom home right on the lake, barbecue pit, tile everywhere. We had beds and leather couches and built-in bar. It was phenomenal. You know, it was just a beautiful place to stay. And we ate good. I know we invited you guys over for dinner. I don't know, y'all didn't show up, but we had filet mignons and T-bones and stuffed potatoes, and
we stopped by. We stopped by just to say we didn't eat, but we stopped by. I think you were sleeping.
I was napping. Yeah, they told me you guys did stop by.
We just stopped by to say hey, just kind of see the old place.
So, tell me about your experience down there. What did you like the lake? Fishing. You know what happened?
I love Lake Fork. I mean, after the last event where it was pretty good to me. It was a good event, and I was expecting it to be a little bit better. Mm-hmm. But as you probably remember, that first morning was bitter cold. I mean, that fishing morning was bitter cold. 2 weeks before when we fished it, it was just as cold. And I caught a really nice 23-inch fish, probably about 7 pounds, out of that same area. It was a really nice fish. Had my hopes up. We looked for a lot of new water because we knew how popular that area was. Mm-hmm. So it's a great lake, and I don't know if you watch any of the YouTube videos, but
I have, yeah.
They're always pulling 5. I mean, a 5-pound fish in that lake is well, you know, it's okay. That's a nice fish, you know, but it's nothing. It's nothing special.
Well, you know, Terry was pre-fishing, and he sent a picture to the group, and it was I think it was 25-inch bass, and I'm like, you have got to be. You come over here. You're in the water for an hour, and you get 25-inch bass. And I called him up. I said, I don't even want to hear it. I'm sure it was with a popping cork. And I just tell me, did you really catch this fish? He said, no, I didn't catch it. But I found it. It was floating. And, I mean, it was a monster bass. And he said, you know, I tried to revive it and get it going again, but I don't know if maybe it was just old or whatever. So he couldn't do it. And this was during one of the scouting days. But you and your brother actually caught some fish as compared to a lot of us. So what were y'all doing to kind of get on them that day?
So the first day of the event, shallower than I expected, like way shallower than I expected. Nothing was big, but it kind of anywhere I could find little pockets of grass. Mm-hmm. I was able to find just a little cove where I think I caught all of my fish. So the first day I caught 3 or 4 fish. I caught 4 fish the first day, And then the second day, is that right? I don't even remember. The second day, I only caught one, but I missed 3 fish, all from the same exact area. And they were, I was just working a creature bait real slow, just kind of weightless, which is kind of one of my favorite ways to fish for bass, is just a weight, especially when it's cold or there's a lot of pressure. It really slows me down, because if you're using something weightless and you're trying to keep it subsurface, as soon as you start kind of not paying attention, it kind of comes up to the surface. So really slows you down. And that was it. The bite was surprisingly more aggressive than you would think. When we were pre-fishing, I was catching on wacky worm, just throwing at stumps. Trying to think.
A lot of the people that I talked to that had some success, they were having to fish really slow, and a lot of them were fishing against the stumps. I said jiggy head earlier. I think I meant shaky head. I heard some people had some success using a shaky head rig. I know Brock did. I know I talked to another guy that he was in the top 5 when I ran into him, and he was telling me, I'm fishing these stumps. I'm fishing with a shaky head and just basically dragging them real slow across. Almost, I guess, like flounder fishing to some extent as far as the pace you were going.
Yes.
I'm still not used to that. It's hard to really slow down at fishing, because I'm used to throwing and moving and throwing and moving, and you really, at least in February, had to slow it down a lot.
Definitely. But I think that's going to be out the window for this next event. So 2 weeks from now, I had heard the water temperature was kind of 54 in the back of the creeks. And then we had another couple warm days. I don't know if we have any cold fronts coming through, but I'd be surprised if the temperature isn't up around 60 in 2 weeks, as long as we don't have like an extended cold front. So it's not going to be the slow fishing.
So you're going back to Lake Fork?
Definitely. I'm going to go back for Bassmaster.
And that's going to be the Bassmasters tournament that Hobie just had theirs over there. And now the Bassmasters is coming up over there in 2 or 3 weeks. I think we've got another good group going over there.
6 or 7?
6 or 7 guys.
Wow.
Going back. Chuck's going back. Jonathan is going back.
Jonathan, I think, is going back. Yeah.
Who else is going back? I saw a couple other names on it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Louisiana is going to represent. I'm glad a lot of Louisiana guys are kind of getting into it. I didn't know any of the people that I would see at the KBFs, but when I fished some KBF events,
Ben, you got that picture of all of us over there representing?
Yes, yeah, I have the picture.
We had a lot of guys representing Bayou Coast and Lafayette Club and Louisiana in general over there at that thing. It was really great. That we went down there and we had a lot of fun, and we definitely showed Hobie, hey, we're there to support you guys like y'all support us, and we had a great time. I'll tell a couple of funny stories. One of the things I like about this, I don't really have any realistic expectation of competing very well over there. It's all about the learning experience and getting to hang out with these guys, because we had a lot of fun. Got to hang out with Dean Turner, who I had I knew from the club, and he actually won Minimalist Challenge this year. And Dean got to go down there, and one of the things with Dean that I learned is he's got 3 kids, and 2 of them are adopted.
Yeah.
And Dean actually adopted one of his kids. One of his boys is from Ethiopia. Wow. And kind of a sad story with the kid's parents, but I mean, you hear stories like that, and when you hear all the bad stuff in the world and you hear about something like that, it always kind of like restores your faith in humanity. Like, yeah, there really are some good people out there and good people in this club. And so had a great time with Dean. Ian's a trip. If any of you guys met Ian Gillespie, he takes his fishing seriously. He brings, I had 4 trays of bass baits, which is probably not a lot. He had the 4 containers, those plastic containers that he brought with him full of baits. So I wrote down some of my funny stories that I had, because these were just my highlights of why I love this trip so much and hanging out with these guys. So first we had, leading up to the tournament, the big debate, spinning reel, bait casters, right? It's always the constant thing, bass fishing, you got to use bait casters, So Ben, show that picture I got, Tyler. I think it's one of my favorites. If
Oh,
you can
yeah.
find it. Yeah, Tyler on the couch at the house.
Yep.
If you know the one I'm talking about.
I got it.
Yeah. So this is Tyler with his baitcaster. And as you can see, he is busy working a bird's nest out of that baitcaster that he managed to get during the day. And as I recall, he sat there for an hour on the couch trying to work this bird's nest through his baitcaster. He didn't realize it, but I snapped that picture real quick. Shortly after that, I was able to take a nap because I use spinning reels, and so I didn't have to work the knots through my baitcaster.
I'm going through all y'all's pictures, your fish.
So Dean is out there, and Dean is telling me, I run into Dean, and I said, Dean, did you catch anything today? And he's like, no. He said, I did lose my personal best bass. I'm like, are you kidding me? He said, yeah. I said, well, look, Jonathan lost 2 at the kayak. What happened? Did it come out of his mouth? No. And he says, no, you can't tell anybody, but Ian tied a uni-to-uni knot for me, and I lost it when the uni-to-uni came loose. And he said, I lost my personal best bass and a $15 bait. And he says, you can't tell Dean about it. I said, all right. I'm not going to tell Dean about it. I'm going to tell Dean about it. Ian about it. I'm going to tell Ian about it. So we laughed at that, but not to give Ian too much of a hard time, but he's out there and he's fishing. And this goes back to his knot tying abilities. So he's got a brand new jackhammer out the package, right? And, he's getting it all ready to go. And he takes it, he clips his line, he tosses the jackhammer out, and he goes down and he realizes I didn't tie the jackhammer onto my line. So he's sitting there with a cut line and his jackhammer, his $15 jackhammer, chatterbait right into the drink, and that's just one of those things where, okay, you just got to sit back, kind of regroup and think about it, But my funniest story all weekend, and I was only the one there to see it, and it had nothing to do with fishing. But we're sitting there at the house. We got back from pre-fishing, and Jonathan is walking by me, and he just looks at me, and he just says, I don't know, it was a bad day of fishing. He goes, if he dies, he dies. And he looks at me and he says, Jon Snow, Game of Thrones. And I look at him and I said, that's not Jon Snow from Game of Thrones. That's the Russian from Rocky IV saying that when he killed Apollo Creed. And he says, are you sure? I said, I'm pretty damn sure Jon Snow from Game of Thrones didn't say that. I got tears coming out my eyes thinking, why would you? I said, and then I find out on our way home, because 7 hours in the car, we got nothing to talk about. He's never heard of the Andy Griffith Show. Which, okay, he's 28. Maybe that was a little bit before time. But he's also never seen Roadhouse.
What?
Roadhouse. Right? It was like Roadhouse. He's like, I don't know what you're talking about. I was like, Roadhouse, with Patrick Swayze. The bouncer that comes in, he's got the master's degree and he kicks butt, but in the doctor?
Yeah.
It's a horrible storyline, but everybody's seen Roadhouse.
He lives in the second floor of the barn.
Right, he lives in the second floor of the barn.
Across
with the
the
brand new
pond
Mercedes.
from the rich guy.
Yeah.
Like Smoking the Bandit.
It's kind of like Smoking the Bandit, right? So it amazes me the things you learn about these people. You got Dean on the really high end of great people, and then you got Jonathan. Like, where have you been for the last 20 years? Andy Griffith, Ron Howard. I don't know, but we had a great time down there. I know, just to tell everybody, I know right now we're trying to plan a trip for the Coosa River chain. That's the first weekend of October. That's another Hobie Bass Open that's going to be in Alabama. It's like a 5.5 hour trip from New Orleans. I think we're getting another group together. So if anyone's interested in going down there, certainly reach out to us. Wayne, I don't know if you and your brother plan on hitting that one.
I'm definitely, I want to fish 3 this year. If not 4, like I like Kentucky Lake. So I'm probably going to do Kentucky Lake again, Dardanelle, because I know Arkansas. I know how to drive to Arkansas. That's about the only reason I drove up there so much. And then hopefully Coosa River.
Coosa River looks, I mean, it's in October, and I found when I got to do my first tournament, which was the Native Titan tournament in Gunnersville, I'm hoping the fishery's kind of similar, because that was a really great trip with the frogs on the lily pads and the grass and everything. It was a really good time, and I feel like if I go back, I may be able to catch more than 3 fish this time. So it was actually my best bass trip, because I caught like 3. So I'm hoping this one maybe I can catch 5 one day. You guys,
you need to go to Lake Martin and see what it's a good place to learn. It's such a small area. It's a good, and tons of different types of cover.
We're gonna have to do that. I'm definitely gonna check it out. But well, look, Wayne, man, I appreciate you coming on tonight. I know we're keeping up you late. It's 9:20 on a Tuesday night. Yeah, some of the guys. I know, Ben, this is past your bedtime. You get up at 4 a.m. just to hang out. I know, because I start getting text messages from him at 5. So, but look, guys, a couple of things before we go. One, Trout Challenge is coming up March 21st. We have 40 people signed up for the tournament already, which is crazy good, because we don't even usually open up registration until right about now, like 3 or 4 weeks before the tournament. So it sounds like we're going to have probably 80 people fishing that tournament. And I've talked to a lot of people that have never fished golden medal or basons before, and they're loving it, because we limited those launches, and they're saying, man, I've never fished this area. I've always wanted to. Now I've got a reason to go out there and check it out. And wow, I didn't know the fishing was so good out there. And this was in February, and we're coming up in March, which is going to be one of the best times to fish for trout in that area. And I mean, nice trout. You're going to catch there's going to be some big trout brought in. I wouldn't be surprised if we had a couple of 2 or 3 pound trout brought in March. I'm looking at you, Brendan. You know, I'm sure. I talked to a friend of mine, actually, Jonathan, was out there about 2 weeks ago, and he was telling me he lost his personal best trout. He got it to the kayak, the line broke, and he said, look, it wasn't the hook. The hook was down. He said it was easily 25 inches. You know, so I've talked to other people that have caught 2 pound trout out there, and they're telling me 2 pounds. So I don't know, maybe they're even bigger. I think that it's going to be a great tournament. We're staying that Friday night, kind of like the official hangout is going to be, where's it at, Ben? It's
Galliano Inn. I just booked
Galliano Inn, Captain Lake Cabin and RVs. If you haven't booked a room yet, the rooms are real cheap over there. You can go ahead and book a room. We're going to be hanging out.
I'll be there Thursday night.
Yeah, Eric's going to be up there Thursday night. We're going to be drinking some beers. Yeah,
maybe
Ben
cooking.
too. Maybe cooking. Maybe some boudin. So, Wayne, y'all plan on being there?
Oh yeah, gotta qualify. I missed last year, and it stung. I got to be honest with you, it stung.
Especially probably after you heard of those trout being caught at Leeville, huh?
Yeah, and it just the whole it being in Leeville thing. I mean, that's I had to spend. I mean, being from the West, I had to spend so much time learning kind of that area. I mean, you had to go the other direction. So. Yeah. Well,
look, one day, if I'm still around, one day we're gonna throw a curveball, and we're gonna have that championship somewhere in the West. It may be maybe Big Lake.
All right.
It may be that area. I don't know. Cocodrie? Probably not. Probably not. But maybe Big Lake. I don't know how the fishing is in December, but if Brendan has anything to do with it, he's whispering by my ear every time I hear Big Lake. You know. Throw a curveball. So, Eric, why don't you come on over here a little bit? Tell us about Paddlepalooza registrations coming up. Tell us what's going on with that.
Yeah, guys. Hopefully this Friday we can get registration up and going. We're gonna do something a little different this year. We're putting up a little early, but we're gonna do what's called an early bird. So if you register before April the 3rd, I think it is, and every week we're going to have a drawing for a $50 gift card to Bass Pro or Cabela's. So if we started this weekend, this Friday, that gives us 1, 2, 3, 4. April 3rd will be the last one. So if you register, then you have a chance to win a gift card. You only one. We'll give them out at the captain's meeting. But we're trying to get everything up and running. We want to get a lot of people in there early so we can get an accurate T-shirt order. It's always been a problem. So anyway, look for that this Friday.
Yeah, so that's going to be awesome. And certainly, if you haven't fished Paddlepalooza before, you got to come out. It's going to be in April. It's going to be a great time of year. And it'll kind of give you a little bit familiarity to learn some of the areas before the Hobie World Qualify in October. I do have to share one more quick story before we sign off, because this was maybe one of the best ones. We had Tyler just texted me. There were deer everywhere out there. I mean, did y'all see the amount of deer coming to and from? They were just hanging out on the side of the roads.
I saw some on up by us when we were fishing.
So we're at this captain's meeting with Hobie, and the captain's meeting was at this facility on this big like country club area with it's a golf course and tennis courts and beautiful facility over the pool and everything. Hobie had a real nice setup with they had a little bartender over there and stuff. So anyway, our plan was to go to the captain's meeting, and then we were going to eat dinner. And there was we saw there was a really good restaurant on site. So what we did was we get in the car and we Googled the restaurant, and we said, okay, let's get directions. So we get in the car, we start leaving, and we finally get the GPS pulled up, and we're going around. We go around. A skunk crosses the road. I'm not kidding. A skunk crosses the road. I'm like, this can't be good, because this is the night before the tournament. We finally get to the restaurant, and as we're pulling in, we see these vehicles with kayaks. I said, oh man, I hope there's not a line. Everybody must be coming here to eat. We did a circle. The restaurant was right across the street from the captain's meeting. Oh, wow. It was less than 50 yards. We got in, took a 15-minute drive around to end up right back where we're at to get into the restaurant. So it was really funny. I mean, we had a laugh. I mean, the food was good, but it was a funny story. So Tyler was driving. I'm not going to take the blame for that one. I would have probably just gotten us there a lot quicker, but thanks Tyler for driving.
Guys with natives.
So, yeah, guys with natives. They never know what direction they're going. But we can pedal backwards. We can pedal backwards. I said, yeah, but can y'all do 360s? Can you do circles? They can't do that yet. So anyway, look, guys, thanks for joining us tonight. If you haven't signed up for Trout Challenge, you still got a lot of time left, but go ahead and get signed up. This is going to be a great time. If you have any questions about it, feel free to email us. It's going to be 10 trout, 1 flounder. I think we're going to have some flounder weighed in. I think we're going to have, I bet we have 7 or 8 flounder weighed in for that tournament. I think we are.
I've caught them in Basons before, so
I've caught them in Golden Meadow before.
The way it's warming up, I wouldn't be surprised. It's just
I think we're going to catch some flounder.
Pretty mild winter, I feel like.
I'm putting the over under at 8 flounder. I think it's going to be 8 flounder brought in, and who knows? I mean, that could be the difference right there. So, look, we're going to try to. So anyway, guys, we're going to go ahead and let you guys sign off here. Wayne, thanks so much for coming on and sharing. We'd certainly like to have you back on, and maybe your brother after some of these tournaments, and we could talk a little bit more about bass fishing, especially when we get to the fall and everything. And certainly, I look forward to seeing you guys out there in 2 weeks.
Hey, thanks for having me. Actually, I wanted to say a sincere thank you for everything you guys are doing with Bayou Coast and kind of the ambassador leadership that you guys are showing. I mean, it's pretty inspirational. You've done a good job. It's hard to imagine that you could grow the club anymore, but every time I turn around, you're like, oh, we got a Hobie World Qualifier. Oh, we got this other thing that I probably can't mention in the
Not yet, but we got something in the cooker. Something big.
For anybody who's wanting to thank somebody with Bayou Coast, I know it's not just you, Sean, but these guys are just killing it. So thank you. Just from an old member who just shows up at events and tries to take money every once in a while.
Hey, look, if you ever want to be an officer, we can. We can always use someone else to fight with.
That counts me out. I'm in Lafayette.
Hey, it doesn't matter, man.
No,
it's all remote access, Zoom meetings and stuff. So
right.
It's good. It's good.
I'm actually going back to work. So.
Oh, okay. Well, look, thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate the compliments. Thanks for fishing our events. I mean, without guys like you showing up at all these events, it's just not possible.
Taking our money.
Yeah, taking our money.
Not later.
Yeah. But hopefully, Trout Challenge. I know me and you. if I don't qualify at Trout Challenge, I'm in some trouble because the next one are redfish tournaments.
No, what are we doing? We got to.
I know. I got to do well this tournament. So we'll see what happens.
You haven't
I'll
even
see
been
you
to
guys out
Golden
there.
Meadow yet.
What's that?
You haven't even fished Golden Meadow or Basons yet.
I don't need to. I'm good. I'm going to pre-fish it. Don't get me wrong. I'm pre-fish it, but I feel pretty comfortable with my game plan going in. You know, I got to do well this tournament.
I got a banana for you.
All right, guys. Thanks so much for joining us tonight. We'll announce when we're back on again, probably be in about 2 weeks. Look forward. If we don't see you, we look forward to seeing you guys at Trout Challenge here and on March 21st. So signing off. Ben, thanks for all your work tonight. I know you did a lot of work getting ready for this thing, getting all the slides and pictures. I can't wait to go back through and see what kind of interesting things you posted on there.
Yep.
All right, guys. Thanks so much.
Good night.
Thanks, Ben. Thanks, Wayne.